Hello everybody, welcome to this video. If you're new here, my name is Selena. I'm an actress and I typically make acting related content here on YouTube. If you're not new here, thank you so much for returning. I really appreciate it. I did want to give a quick disclaimer about this video. I did film some clips yesterday, so I just picked up the camera yesterday with no makeup, my hair a mess, and started filming. So if you notice I look a little different throughout this video, that is why. Just wanted to throw that out there. But before you jump into this video with me, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. As you can tell from the title of today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about the 5 things that people don't tell you about becoming an actor. The first point I wanted to jump into is that getting an agent doesn't equal instant success or stardom. Just because you have an agent doesn't mean all of a sudden you're going to become the next Jennifer Lawrence, or now you have that automatic ticket to the red carpet and this money is just going to start flowing in. It doesn't even guarantee that you're going to be consistently auditioning and booking all the time. Now, of course, for some people, this does happen, right? So let's say they get signed with a huge agency, they consistently start auditioning, and then they book a huge role and their life changes. Of course it happens. It has happened before. I'm sure it'll happen again. And I'm not sitting here saying that it can't happen for you or it won't happen for you, where you'll land that perfect agent and you will just have this beautiful career, right? I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that's more of the exception as opposed to the rule. A lot of actors that get signed, they still have to work really hard to become a working actor, to become a success, whatever their definition of success is. They still have to work really hard to develop their career. Even famous people who have agents, they still have to work really hard. Just because you have an agent doesn't mean you can sit back and relax and expect your career to sort of magically take off. I think a lot of people who get into acting when they're at the very start of their acting journey believe okay, if I can just get an agent, it will solve all of my problems. Like, all the celebrities have agents, so if I get an agent, I'm just gonna become famous, they'll be fine. I think sometimes there's a bit of that mentality in the very beginning. When people want to get into acting and become an actor, they think that having an agent will solve all of their problems, and that's just unfortunately not the case whatsoever. And here's the thing about having an agent. They can only work with what they've got. So if you have crappy marketing materials, you can't expect them to do their job properly because they don't have the proper tools to be able to pitch you or make you stand out from the other actors that are also being considered for the same role as you are. And what I mean by marketing materials are headshots, resume, and demo reel or acting clips. They need those things in order to be able to sell you. And the headshots and resume and reel, it needs to be high quality. They are not magicians. They need certain things from you, and that's just something to keep in mind. However, I will say that getting an agent is a crucial step to complete for any actor. If you want to have a career in acting, you need an agent. There's no way around it. Agents have access to breakdowns that unrepresented actors just don't have access to. If you're an unrepresented actor, for the most part, you're only going to be able to submit to independent or indie productions that don't pay as well and sometimes don't pay at all. And so you're only going to be able to get access to those kind of lower budget projects. Agents get access to projects and roles that are a lot larger, that pay a lot more in comparison to independent productions, and they are seeing breakdowns for TV shows and movies that we would all be familiar with, that we would all watch at home. So you definitely need an agent in order to become a working professional actor. And if you have an agent, you should pat yourself on the back. If you just got signed, you should celebrate it. Like, if you get an agent, celebrate it, because it is really hard to get representation. It is really hard to get signed. It is a big deal to get signed in any market. It's competitive. There's more actors than agents, and agents only have so many spots on their rosters. So it's a big deal. Please, I don't want you to think I'm like, oh, who cares? You have an agent, no big deal. No, it's a big deal. I think people outside of acting don't realize how hard it is to actually get an agent. I think they think it's a lot easier than what it really is. Number 2, everyone has a different opinion about everything. As an actor, sometimes it's really unbelievable the amount of conflicting opinions that you will hear. And sometimes you'll get two industry professionals that are both legitimate, you know, they both have good reputations in the industry, and they will give directly opposing advice or opinions about a certain topic. And this can be about anything. Maybe it's about auditioning, or about the best classes to take, or acting techniques to use, or what makes a good headshot, or how does one develop a career, right? It could be about anything and everything. And it doesn't mean all the time that if, let's say, two people have different opinions about something, that one is right and one is wrong. It's just that they're speaking based off of what worked for them or what worked for a client of theirs. So they're bringing their own unique perspective to the table and using their own experiences to give this piece of advice, to give this opinion. So like I said, it's not always that one is right and one is wrong. A lot of the times the opinions or advice you're getting is subjective, and we have to remember that acting is an art form, so a lot of it is subjective inherently. But what I would say is that it can get confusing and overwhelming as an actor to hear like so many different things and not kind of know what to do, and you don't want to do the wrong thing, but you just have to know yourself really well. This is where knowing yourself is very important. Listen and take in what resonates with you, what you know will work for you. You will have a general idea of what methods and techniques will work with your personality or your style of doing things, and then throw out the things that don't work for you, don't resonate with you whatsoever, doesn't sit well with you. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. You hear opinion, you hear some advice, do some research as well, talk to other people. And here's the thing too, like you might follow one piece of advice and then end up realizing, oh, that doesn't work for me, or that didn't work. I'm gonna now try this other piece of advice that I heard. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But what I'm telling you is that you will hear conflicting opinions. 100% you will. And a lot of it comes down to personal preference as well. At the end of the day, you can't please everyone. Don't expect to please everyone. Like I said, just use the pieces of advice that resonate with you. Listen to opinions that you feel are gonna help you. And also do your own research too about who is giving that opinion and whatnot. So yeah. It can be crazy and confusing out there. Number 3, it's going to take you a while to get headshots that best represent you as an actor. Let me explain. So when you first start off with acting, you don't know yet what your strengths are. You don't know what type of characters you play best at this point. How would you know, right? You've never acted before, you have no experience. So usually when you get your first headshots, they suck. Mine for sure. Oh my God, so many headshots I've taken, they were just horrible. I didn't have specific character types in mind. All I knew was like, okay, I need a theatrical headshot, like that's non-smiling. That's all I knew. It was like, okay, a general, generic theatrical headshot where I'm like supposed to be all serious. So I'm just like, you know, just stupid. And then I was like, oh, and then I should get a commercial headshot where I'm smiling. And so my headshots in the beginning were not very good. They were quite vague, like they didn't really portray a specific type of character. And you want headshots that reflect all the different types of characters that you can play, that are in your wheelhouse, that you play the best. I think in the beginning, when people start acting, they have this idea, myself included, that you can kind of play whatever. You can play anything and everything because you're an actor. But it's not quite necessarily true. There are going to be some characters that come a lot more naturally to you, that you're going to gravitate towards, that's gonna best reflect who you are as a person. And you wanna get headshots that reflect those characters, because that's how your agent is going to sell you to the casting director. And casting directors will look at that headshot and know immediately what kind of characters you can play, or if you're a good fit for the role that they're casting for. And unfortunately, that just takes experience. Your first few headshots are not gonna be great. And anyway, you're supposed to cycle out headshots, like I think every year, like maybe 6 months to a year even. What I meant to say is that you should get new headshots every 6 months to a year. So just because you get new headshots doesn't mean now you have to like throw away all of your other headshots. It's just a matter of adding to the amount of looks that you have. Now, of course, if there are certain headshots that are ultra old, maybe they don't look like you anymore, they don't really represent you anymore, then get rid of those, of course. But you don't have to just sort of get rid of all of your old headshots just because you have some new ones. is what I'm trying to say. And for me, every time I go to a headshot session, my headshots have become progressively better because I know myself more as an actor. Each year I grow and I understand what are the types of characters I'm good at playing and I want to play, and even genres, you know, like for me, I like comedy, I want to be on a sitcom, like that's my goal. So I started gearing certain headshots towards that goal. And in order to find out what kind of characters you can play or the types that people perceive you as, go to class. Class is a great place to learn about how people perceive you and what kind of characters are good for you. And also start working on like indie production, short films, student films, web series, because you'll get a sense of how people see you when you start booking work. You'll start to see a pattern of what kind of characters are you booking most often. And that will also help you determine what kind of headshots you should get. I really hope this all made sense. I feel like this may have been a bit confusing, but I wanted to throw that out there. If you have any questions, you know, obviously just leave a comment. Number 4 is people will make promises that they cannot keep. So I think this one's pretty self-explanatory, but as you plod along on your acting journey, you're going to encounter a lot of different people, whether it's other actors or industry professionals. It could be a director, writer, producer, casting director, coach, whoever. Like, you know, you're gonna meet a lot of people, whether it's through like classes or workshops or parties, networking events, on set. And a lot of people are going to talk a big game and they're going to say a lot of things that they don't really mean, and they're going to maybe brag about certain connections that they don't really have. And so what ends up happening is people might look at you and think you're talented and great, and then they'll start making very grand promises like, oh, I know so-and-so, like I'm gonna make sure like you're gonna be the next Meryl Streep, I'm gonna get you meetings with these people because I know them, like we're gonna like make sure that you're gonna get to the top, like you're gonna be in movies and television, you're gonna be a star. Like people will say all this kind of crap to you, or, you know, promise that they're gonna be able to deliver something that's gonna change your life or career. And 9 times out of 10, you just can't listen to those people because they don't keep those promises. Those things never end up happening or coming to fruition. There are, of course, people in the industry who say they will help you and actually do help you and make a difference in your career. I've been fortunate enough to come across some of those people that actually did what they say they were gonna do and not just like talk, but actually took action on it. But unfortunately,
that's not in the majority of the time.
That doesn't happen as often as it should. And I would say, unfortunately, the majority of the time when people make such promises, they don't keep them. They never actually act upon them. They're just sort of talking. And when you try to follow up with them about, hey, like you said you'd help me out here, they either ghost you or they like make up 1,000,001 excuses as to like why it can't happen. So something just to keep in mind. You're going to hear a lot of grand old promises. Take it with a grain of salt. If it's complimentary towards you, like say thank you and, you know, take the compliment for sure, but don't have expectations that anything is gonna come out of it. Number 5, self-tapes will rule your world. Everything is self-tape. Like, I don't think I've been to an in-person audition in like almost 2 years, I wanna say. Everything has been virtual, and that's just not for auditions, it's also for like meetings with agents. It's virtual. That's just the world we live in now. And when I first started acting, so I started acting about 6 years ago now, and in the beginning, self-tapes, you know, they were there, like I would do some self-tapes, but I mostly went to in-person auditions. And granted, I was, you know, auditioning for projects that were like indie stuff, but still they were all in person, and so I was always in the room. But now pretty much everything is self-tape, especially like the first rounds of auditioning, like self-tape for sure. A lot of the stuff you do is going to be at home by yourself. You might have a reader, an in-person reader, or you might have a virtual reader that's like an acting friend on Zoom reading for you, and that's how you're going to be auditioning for stuff. It's going to be mostly at home. which is very different to how it used to be. It always used to be like in the room with the casting director. That is all I have for you in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative, and until next time, bye.